All right. Thank you, Jack. What a wonderful question. The line that jumped out at me this week was, what if life is eternal and I'm not afraid to die? What a great question. And it's a perfect question for Easter season, the season of resurrection, the season where we learn that death is impossible, that we are consciousness, that we are spirit, that we are eternal. So we are given a moment to experience our eternal divine nature in these bodies right here and now. So what now? Somebody experienced resurrection. Now what? What do I do? How do I define my life here on earth? Like, where are all the answers? It always comes back to me in the end. I love that song because it takes all the competition out of it. You're not competing with anyone or anything. You were always competing with God, the eternal source of all that is. Who's going to win that competition? The eternal source of all that is, of course. And that separate ego, which is trying to be God, is going to be exposed for the nothingness that it is. There's no sense in resisting the ego. There's no sense in resisting evil. There's no sense in resisting the flow of the universe. That just creates war. Wayne Dyer said something really cool that I always liked. It takes two to participate in a conflict. So the minute you stop participating in the conflict, it stops. It disappears. And I've been trying to practice this now, especially in this year, election season, and the division that's created around politics and all of that, and the wars that are going on in the world. My teacher, my master teacher, Yeshua, Jesus, told me to resist not evil. He went a step further and said, love those you perceive as enemies. Oh my goodness. The race is over. Each and every one of us was born victorious or born from eternal love and remains eternal love at the core of your being. Everything else is made up. So if I can demonstrate who I truly am, I'm going to give everyone else permission to do so. You have unconscious permission. You will receive a blessing. So there's a report of a person who resurrected from the illusion of death. There's a report of someone who transcended the laws of this world. There's talk of a person who could heal the sick and raise the dead simply through the power of his mind. One who claimed oneness with God, demonstrated the power of spirit through miracles and love. Demonstrated the power of spirit through loving his neighbor as himself, through creating miracles for the one who seemed to be outside. So what do we do now with that information? What do we do now? Now what? Do we just continue as it was before? I heard a saying once, miracles happen every day, but people trip over the miracle and keep walking as if nothing happened. I want to find out how I can perform the same things. Oh, I'm sorry, I should have put that up first. Beautiful slide. He is risen. Now what? That's what I've been saying to myself this week. Okay, we celebrated the resurrection of one. Now what? What about the rest of it? What do we do now? Do we worship that one, or do we want to do it ourselves? Personally, I want to find out how I can perform the same things Jesus did. I want to know what was actually going on with him. Don't you? Yeah? Right? Yeah, I want to know what was going on there. How did you transcend the laws of the world? Because I'm going to do the same thing. I love it. So what did he do? More importantly is, how can I do that too? You know, in fact, you know, this is the story of unity. This is Christian Science, is to find out what Jesus did and how I can do it. This is all unity really is. Now, in the beginning, it was a very particular type of study called Christian Science. But this woman in Boston already had that name, Mary Baker Eddy. And she was quite a character. I was reading her story. She was in court as much as she was in church. And she threatened to sue the Fillmores if they used the name Christian Science. So they said, okay, we don't need that name. They got together in a prayer group. Literally, this is what they did. They got in a room together and they prayed about it. What a good thing to do. I suggest you do that no matter what your decision is. No matter what you're just trying to decide in life, pray about it. Get together with some other folks too and pray about it. Get in the Spirit. So in the prayer meeting, Charles Fillmore said, I have it. Unity keeps coming to my mind. Unity. That's what we'll call it. And it resonated with everyone there. Unity of thought, unity of expression, unity of spiritual principles, the same principles that were being demonstrated by Jesus the Christ. We're going to demonstrate. We are demonstrating right now. And so let's call it, we're going to call it unity because we're in unity with God, with all that is. So it became the name. I love that. However, the fact remains that unity is a divine science, seeking to discover and practice spiritual principles. The same spiritual principles used by Jesus the Christ, the one that resurrected. And we all resurrect in varying ways because the natural flow of the universe is a regeneration of the body, a rebalancing of the mind and the spirit, of the soul in alignment with spirit. Your spirit's always perfect. Spirit is always perfect all the time. But our job is to align our body, mind, and soul with the Spirit. And another word for soul can be being, beingness. How are you being? The entirety of you in expression here, but also in consciousness. Your being is your consciousness being expressed. However, you're expressing yourself in your totality. That's your being. And so we also equate that with soul. So unity is a link. It's a link in the great educational movement inaugurated by Jesus Christ. This is Charles Fillmore in his book, Prosperity. So our objective, says Charles Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, he says, our objective is to discern the truth in Christianity and prove it. The truth that we teach is not new, neither do we claim special revelations or discovery of new religious principles. Our purpose is to help and teach humankind to use and prove the eternal truth taught by the Master. That's also from his book, Prosperity. So that's our purpose, to help and teach all of humankind to use and prove the eternal truth, the same truth that was taught and demonstrated by the one you call Jesus. So if you're saying, okay, he's risen, now what do I do? What does that have to do with me? Here's your answer. To teach and to prove the eternal truth in your perfect and unique way. You can do it, and you will do it. I'm just trying to save you many lifetimes. one who has come back too many times than he cares to. Because this is the one thing that you will finally teach. Teach only love, because that's what you are. Teach the eternal truth, because that's what you are. But first, something needs to happen, some kind of transformation, because we see ourselves as bodies, we see ourselves as separate, we see ourselves as sick and limited and lacking, and then we start blaming those other people that we see as the cause of it. Now we're really off down a bad road for us, because we're not taking responsibility for our own experience. It's going to be very difficult to change. If we take responsibility for it, we can change it. If it's caused by something out there, how are you ever going to change it? You're going to change everything out there for you to be happy. Oh my goodness. That's going to take a lot of lifetimes. And then you're finally going to give up. Because what you're seeing out there is, and this has been proven by quantum science, what you're seeing out there is completely and utterly a reflection or projection of what's going on in your consciousness. I love this one quantum scientist, I forget his name. He said, well, really there's no out there out there. It's all in here. It's all in your consciousness. And you forget how powerful you are. Your consciousness projected onto the canvas of imagination is the world. That's Henry David Thoreau. The mind is but a canvas, or the world is but a canvas for your imagination. And the mind is the painter. How are you painting? What is the art? Are you making your life a work of art? Are you allowing this old image of sickness and death to be your reality? Now what? Are you gonna resurrect? Are you gonna choose that? The first thing that needs to happen is that you have to have your eyes opened. Your spiritual eye needs to be opened. And we need an experience of awakening. That's the first thing, is that experience of awakening. Then your transformation can begin. My favorite story around resurrection is a post-resurrection story, and many of you have heard it growing up perhaps. It's the story of an encounter that Jesus had with two men along the road to Emmaus. And these two did not recognize him. Now, I'm not going to tell the whole story because it's 2 pages long. I copied the whole thing because I wanted to read it and I really wanted to study what was going on there. And the first thing that happens is the resurrection is discovered by a group of women. And the men don't believe them. Yeah, laugh, because it's true. Yeah, the women discovered. Now, they went, and there was 2 angels there, and they said, sorry, he's not here. He's resurrected. And they're like, cool, this is great. Wow. They run back, and they go, he did it. And they go, what? He resurrected. No, we don't believe you. No, really, we went and we saw 2 angels. They told us he's resurrected and blah, blah, blah. Nothing. Wow. Now they know how most preachers feel. I'm telling you, you're resurrected. I mean, nothing. No, I'm just kidding. You guys are great. You always respond with enthusiasm. But this is what occurred in that moment. So, okay, Jesus appears post-resurrection to these 2 men walking down the road to Emmaus. They don't recognize him. So he's walking along with them, and he goes, why are you guys so sad? You know, what's going on? Why do thoughts... This is in the King James. It hasn't been interpreted out yet, but this is a great subtlety. He says, why do thoughts arise in your heart? oh, like we changed it to, why are you so sad? But no, they're having thoughts, and those thoughts are manifesting in their heart, creating this feeling of sadness. So he starts at the cause. Why are these thoughts arising in your heart? And they said, haven't you heard? There was this amazing guy who healed the sick and raised the dead, and he was a prophet from God. And our religious leaders handed him over, and he was crucified by the Romans, and he's dead. So the guy's walking right with them, alive, post-resurrection, but in their minds, he's dead. He doesn't exist. Isn't that amazing? Walking right next to you, and he doesn't exist. This is the sad case of most of humanity. The Christ is within you, and you don't know it exists. You don't know that it's within you. You don't know it's a possibility. Isn't that amazing? So Jesus, post-resurrection, is walking along the road with these guys. So he walks with them all day. And they tell him all about the crucifixion. And he just listens. He just walks with them. And he decides to hang out with them a little longer. And he goes to eat with them. And they have dinner. And when he breaks the bread, that's when their eyes are opened and they see the Christ. When he was at the table with them, he took the bread. And what did he do? He blessed it as part of God, as part of heaven, which is what he did at the Last Supper. But I find this breaking of the bread even more fascinating. He breaks the bread, not in a ritual for the Passover, but he blesses it because he's about to share something with you, which is not just physical bread, but spiritual knowledge. And so when he breaks it and gives it to them, their eyes were opened and they recognized him. Then what happened? He immediately vanishes. Oh, that's incredible! You don't need me anymore. Well, you know what I'm saying. Once you recognize the Christ, you don't need the physical representation outside of you anymore. What a great lesson. What a great teaching he gave them. He vanished from their sight the minute they saw him and they recognized the Christ. Because what they were recognizing was what was in them. And now what? He vanished. I'm going to have to do the same thing. I'm going to have to walk with this knowledge now that I am the Christ. A resurrection occurred and now he's vanished again. Now what? Now what do I do? I love it. And this is the divine dilemma, I will call it, of humanity. Is you're walking around with the Christ within you. And most of us don't even know it. And the now what part is, that's the great adventure. That's what we're heading into now, the great adventure. The shift in consciousness that needs to occur, that will occur. It's inevitable. It's inevitable evolutionary spiritual progress. Can take place in you in a more accelerated and wonderful, miraculous pace, if you choose. Starting today, by recognizing that your eyes have been opened. I love it. Then he vanishes from their sight. So the road to Emmaus, it illustrates the necessity for authentic communion with the Christ. Now, this is a great quote. Authentic communion with the Christ, the divine nature of another. Our spiritual eye needs to be opened and experience the Christ within us. So this is why I love this, is this is our function in the world. Show up as the Christ. Commune with another Christ to Christ, light to light. Commune with another as the holy, sacred being that they are. And then vanish from their sight. Only if you don't get along. But you need to demonstrate who you are in every situation. And this is a wonderful way to keep your eye open, your spiritual eye open, is to keep seeing the light in others and act as though that's all you see. Your ego might be telling you a lot of things, a lot of judgments from your past, but if you act as though that's all you see, you'll start to see more of it. You'll start to see the light more often and more of it. So to me, the true meaning of communion is to actually witness the divinity in another, to see God in their eyes. This is one of the most fundamental practices of New Thought, as well as many other spiritual paths. To see the divinity in another, to really look for that, to really attempt to bring it out. So now what? What do I do now? How do I proceed with this post-resurrection information? How do I proceed in the communion of the Spirit with others? I must become fearless. I have to become fearless in my example. I must turn my full attention on becoming the magnificent creation of love and light that I was meant to be. That's what now. That's what I'm going to do now. Put my full attention on that. Put my full attention on becoming the magnificent creation of love and light that I was meant to be. Write that down as an affirmation. Stick it on your refrigerator. Put it on the mirror of your car. I don't care. But keep focusing your attention on the magnificent creation of love and light that you were meant to be. Teach only love because that is what I am. I must make my life a work of art. Yes, I must become completely determined to demonstrate the Christ within me. I must become physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, completely, and utterly fearless in my demonstration that I too am resurrected, that I am a spiritual being. So let's go, guys. Let's be fearless in our walk together. I love you.